Hey there guys, welcome to Arsenal Fan TV, and this is my preview for Arsenal versus Bournemouth. Pretty safe to say that Christmas was going pretty well until the Arsenal showed up last night and we lost 4-0 to Southampton. I mean, I'm still absolutely bewildered and dumbfounded at how we lost 4-0 to Southampton of all clubs. And I say that with great respect to Southampton. They absolutely turned us over last night, very worthy of the victory. But it was one of the most lethargic Arsenal performances that I've seen all season. It's definitely up there with the likes of Sheffield Wednesday away, Bayern Munich away. And I'm simply not putting it down to a bad day at the office because it's not the first time we've seen it with Arsenal. And the evident problems that have been consistent throughout this season came into question again last night. Losing to West Brom away, drawing with Norwich, losing 5-1 to Bayern, losing to Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, these are consistent results that we're having about once a month. And it's not something that if you're going to be a title challenger, you can continue to have, especially in all competitions, because you need clubs to take you seriously. And I think that really didn't lay down a good statement for us last night, losing 4-0 to Southampton. But thankfully, we've got an opportunity 48 hours later in which to respond against Bournemouth. And I've got a lot of respect for Eddie Howe and Bournemouth because if he keeps them up, in my eyes, he's going to be worthy of manager of the season. Given that they've lost Max Gradel, Tyrone Mings and Callum Wilson, arguably three of their best players and two of them stellar signings for a club like Bournemouth in the summer, to lose those players right at the start of the season and to be where they are now after a rather rocky start, I think they're doing fantastically to be in the position that they are. And if they avoid relegation, definitely Eddie Howe goes down as one of the best managers in the league, in my opinion, because that would be a fantastic achievement. As well as that, they're playing very good football, they're doing some good defensive work, and they're just a genuine delight to have in the Premier League, a definite asset to the league, and I do hope they stay up. But I mean, they're going to come to the Emirates with so much belief that they can beat us. They'll have looked at that game against Southampton, they'll have identified, should I say, our problems within the team, and they will look to exploit them. And they have got players that can do that. Players like Junior Stanislas, I'm worried about coming up against him because although he hasn't had a enlightening career, he is a player that's very speedy, got a low centre of gravity, like I mentioned in the review of the Southampton game. Players that can harm people like Per Mertesacker, in my opinion, would be much better off playing with someone like Gabriel in this game because he's much faster. He copes really well with players that are very speedy, and I think he'd work well alongside Koscielny, who also had a very poor performance against Southampton. I'm not going to identify just Mertesacker as the root cause of the problem against Southampton because, quite frankly, the whole team was catastrophic throughout the course of the game, and it's one of the worst defensive displays I've seen from our back five all season. But I think it comes down to, in a way, players getting to an age now where they can't consistently put in games in such a thick and fast time span, because we've got players like Mertesacker, Flamini, who are entering their early 30s now, and when we've got players in the ranks like Callum Chambers, Gabriel, etc., I think we need to be giving these players a run out and see how they can do against Bournemouth. It is going to be difficult. I mean, Bournemouth are a very energetic team. They're a delight to watch, like I say, and the players that are coming in for their injured players, the likes of Glenn Murray, who they recently bought from Crystal Palace in the summer, you've got to say hats off to them because they really are doing a good job. They're getting in there, they're getting amongst it. A very hard working team, and it's going to be a really interesting game in my opinion. But like I say, they will come to the Emirates believing they can get a win, and we've got to completely eradicate that mindset from them by getting a good start in this game. We've got to get an early goal, and we've got to be looking a lot more energetic and up for the game than we did against Southampton, because we just didn't turn up against Southampton, quite frankly, and we've got to be looking up and ready for this game against Bournemouth. It's not a game that we can take for granted in any way, shape or form, because they can punish us. That's the reality. We've got a defence that can easily be got at. There are evident problems in that defensive back line, and teams will realise that they can score a couple of goals against us. And I mean, you'd hope in a game like this we've got enough attacking talent to burst through and get a couple of goals against this Bournemouth defence. But I mean, we can't take anything for granted in this game. I think there needs to be some evident rotation within the squad. The first player that I would bring into the Arsenal fold is Gabriel for Per Mertesacker, and that's not to discredit Per Mertesacker too much, because against Man City he was fantastic. But like I previously mentioned, these players that are getting to an age now where they can't consistently put in good performances in such a short space of time are starting to become a bit liable. So I would drop Mertesacker, bring in Gabriel. We've done fantastically when Gabriel and Koscielny have played alongside each other this season, and I really want to see them execute that partnership to perfection yet again. I don't think we've lost a Premier League game when those two have played together, so that would be the natural partnership for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how Gabriel does, because I don't really think he earned a reason to be dropped when he did get dropped. I mean, the last time we saw him play was actually against Bayern Munich in the 5-1 mauling, and I don't really know why he was dropped out of all the players from that game, because practically everyone in that performance was diabolical, and I don't think he was the one individual that we could blame for that. Apart from that, he's been immense for us this season, so I'm looking forward to seeing how Gabriel does if he does start this game. In the midfield, I would drop Matthew Flamini, and I'd be interested to see how Callum Chambers does in that central defensive midfield role. For the time that Callum Chambers has played off the bench for us this season, hasn't been at all convincing, but from the start I'd like to see how he does, and the fact of the matter is he's a lot more energetic than someone like Matthew Flamini. Might not have the same defensive capabilities in that role, but I'd like to see how he does in this game. Playing alongside someone like Aaron Ramsey. The front three in behind Olivier Giroud, I think, picks itself. Joel Campbell, Mesut Ozil and Theo Walcott. I would bring in Chamberlain, but he hasn't done enough yet to convince me. It would be great if we had Sanchez back for this game, but unfortunately we don't. I think we're really starting to miss him. And Olivier Giroud up top, so practically an unchanged lineup. And I don't think there are too many changes we can make to this team, because I mean, you can look at players that we can bring in, we can, try and mix up the team as much as we want, but let's not forget that Arsenal 11 that went out against Southampton was also one that beat Villa 2-0, it went away from home and beat Olympiacos 3-0, it beat Man City 2-1, so it's not a crap starting 11, it can go out there and do a job against Bournemouth. I would hope that it was just a one-off against Southampton, but like I said before, it's not just a one-off with Arsenal, because we have seen this, and I think it's a mentality issue more than a quality issue in the team. So against Bournemouth, like I say, let's not take anything for granted, let's go out there, put in our best performance and get a nice 2 or 3-0 win. That's exactly what we need to get the confidence restored within the team, get the old goal difference back to where it should be, and then we go to Newcastle on January the 2nd, and hopefully we got to be getting a win there at the Emirates, and then it's time for the FA Cup. But I mean, in perspective, although last night's game against Southampton was an absolute humiliation, if we're able to win this game and then Man City are able to take points off Leicester, then we're top of the league going into the new year. So it's not all doom and gloom. We have got some very tough games coming up in the second half of the season. I mean, I really do worry about Stoke and Liverpool away in January. Title-defining month, in my opinion. If we play anything like we did at St Mary's, then we're not going to be winning those games. So we've got to up the ante, get points in the games we need to, in this game against Bournemouth and that game against Newcastle. 2 games that we've got to be getting 6 points out of 6 in, and then we'll just see where we go from there. But to go into the new year top of the league would be a great achievement for us, and hopefully we can keep the momentum going from there and put last night behind us. But get your thoughts on the game in the comments box below. Please do tweet me your team lineups and get your team lineups in the comments box below as well. Like the video if you have enjoyed it. Subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV if you're new to the channel, and as always, I'll speak to you very soon.
Arsenal Fan TV, I spoke to you the other day and you was really optimistic. Yeah. After that, how can we be optimistic? I mean, is it just a blip, or is that Arsenal